Hey, what's up? Welcome to the Really Bold Podcast, episode 42. I am your host, Big Ken TV. Unless you've been hidden under a rock, or hiding under a rock is the correct term, you would have known about the shooting deaths of Renee Good and Alex Pretty by officers, government officers. I covered Renee Good last week, so I'm just going to talk about Alex Pretty. And what I'm about to say is, listen, I am not pro or anti ICE. I'm not pro or anti Alex Pretty. Simply what I'm doing is expressing my opinion on what I think triggered the unfortunate events that led to the loss of Alex Pretty's life. He was an ICU nurse, worked at the VA, and he lost his life, with the encounter of government agents, allegedly, doing their job. And like I said, this is simply my opinion. You're talking about a guy, a nurse, he's coming home from work or, walking down the street. And he sees ICE, and, they're allegedly doing their job, whatever. And, they have some words. He has some words with the ICE agents. ICE agents like, hey, man, stay over there, bro. Let us do our job. This and that. And then, Alex got some things to say, blah, blah, blah. They're going back and forth. And then, one of the ladies or the two ladies, end up being thrown to the ground by members of the agency. And so at that point, Alex like, hey, man, what you doing, man? There's a lady, man. Let me get over there, go over there, help her out. And then, they pepper spray him, and they get into a tussle. You got pepper spray, you're disoriented, you got shit to say. Hey, shit, you get pepper sprayed, you got something to say. You can't see. You upset, you mad. So they wrestle him, tag him to the ground, and we had a legal firearm on his holster. One of the agents yelled out, he got a gun. Took the gun, and then they shot him 10 times. Now, I know not everybody's going to agree with the things I have to say. First of all, let me say that if I'm walking down the street and I see some lady, ICE is doing it, doing whatever they're doing, and, they're pepper spraying motherfuckers and shit, I'm going to keep my 2 feet walking. Not because I don't feel sympathy or feel sorry for them or not wanting to help them. But I know based on the color of my skin, there's only one way this shit going to play out. And not the way that I think it's going to go in my head. I'm going to end up being 6 feet deep, dead on arrival, DOA, for interfering in that situation. Yes, I would love to help. I would love to make sure that the lady is fine. I would love to make sure the lady is okay. But I know once I cross those boundaries, the bullshit's going to happen. And helping a lady, and I need to say this, should not warrant a death certificate. Okay? I don't care what they're doing. But then I look at it like this. You're an agent, right? You're an agent. You probably working at Walmart and shit. Ain't got enough money to pay the bills. This ad comes on. Join ICE. We give you a $50,000 sign-on bonus. You'll be making $150,000 a year. You like, yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. I can pay some bills with that. President say he gonna give me this and give me that. Fuck it. Where do I sign up? And you take this job. But you're not mentally prepared or properly trained to deal with what you're going to have to deal with. I mean, imagine, you're doing your job, whether you think it's good or bad, or whether you think that it should be a job, doesn't matter. The agents, they're doing a job just like everybody else. Imagine doing your job everywhere you go. People hate you. They don't like you. You're getting protested against. You're getting screamed at, yelled at, shit thrown at you. You pissed. After about 2 or 3 stops, you got you a little agenda, where to go, what neighborhood to hit, what apartments to hit, what specific person you're looking for. You pissed. By the time you get to your 3rd stop, your day fucked up. Motherfucker spitting at you, yelling at you, throwing shit at you. You mad at this point. You tired of people's shit. And just like they're tired of your shit. And so here comes Alex Pretty, protesting against you. Hey, man, leave them people alone. You like, hey, bro, mind your business. Stay on that side of the road. I'm trying to do my job. And here come Alex Pretty, like, hey, man, blah, 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 whatever the altercation. I mean, y'all saw the video. The video is plain as day. Everybody showed every angle of the video. It's all on social media. The video is facts, despite what, the White House tried to say. The video spits facts. But I'm just expressing my opinion. So you got Alex Pretty. Hey, he's doing his due diligence. He's being a human being. He doesn't like how you're treating the women, throwing them to the ground. He doesn't like your presence. And he's protesting. I don't think he came to protest, but you just happened to be doing your job when he was walking down the street. And so the ICE agent, he's upset. Alex, he's upset. And they said, hey, man, stay on the side of this road. Let us do our job. Blah, blah, blah. They're going back and forth. Everybody's irritated. Alex is irritated. The agents are irritated. Well, once the lady gets thrown to the ground, violently, I might add, very, very violently. I saw the video. It wasn't a push to the ground. She was literally like WWE slammed to the ground, right? He goes over there to render aid, make sure she's okay. So now you as an ICE agent, and I'm not excusing this. I just want you to understand that. I am not excusing any of the actions that were perpetrated on that day. Just walk with me. And Alice goes to, render aid, help the lady out. And the agent, the agents, they're pissed. They want to go home. And they looking at dude like, dude, we just told you to stay on the side of the road. Bro, why are you in the mix? And Alex is like, why you got to treat the lady like this? There's no sense for you to do that. Pepper sprayed him. So, yeah, you get pepper spray, you're going to be angry too. I get pepper spray, I'll be mad than a motherfucker. Don't step within 2 or 3 feet of me because you might get hit. Because I'm swinging. So he gets pepper spray. They tackle him down, blah, blah, blah. And in the midst of tackling him down and trying to subdue him, one of the agents realized he had a gun, a legal firearm, I might add. Had a gun on him. Pulls the gun away, walks away. You see, it's on video. Pulls the gun, he has the gun in his hand. If you see the video, he got the gun in his hand. Alex is right there. The agent is walking around the car. And as an agent, you wrestling with this dude, you fighting with this dude, all you hear is gun, you got a gun. He probably didn't know that the gun was already taken from him. And they end up shooting him up to 10 times. I blame lack of training, lack of empathy, and lack of knowing the Constitution. Alex had every right to have a legal firearm concealed. If he had pulled it out and brandished it, that would be a different story. That would be a totally different story. And that's the story that the White House tried to bring out. They tried to say, oh, he came to the protest and he brandished a firearm and he tried to attack the officers. No, he didn't. The video is clear as day. He did not pull his weapon. He had a phone in his hand. And speaking of, where is the phone? Nobody has mentioned where the phone is. Where's the phone? Because he was recording. He was, whatever evidence he felt he should have was on that phone. Where's the phone at? Nobody's mentioned the contents of the phone. I don't know where the phone is. Did the phone make it to evidence? Who knows? I have no idea. That's a really good question. Where's the phone? But anyway, they shoot him 10 times. And now that I look at the situation, and I watched the video over and over and looked at the situation, and this was just my opinion of how things might have escalated. Not saying that this is fact. How we as human beings react to certain situations when we are not properly trained. It could have been a point where, and I am not taking up for the government agents at all. I'm just simply stating that if you're tussling with a guy and one of the guys, everything's happening in a split second. One of the guys grabbed the gun off of him and don't tell you that he has the gun. Like, hey, dude, I got the gun. That's all he had to do. The pew-pew. I got to say pew-pew because I forgot social media be tripping. I got the pew-pew. He doesn't communicate that. But the last thing he said was he has a gun. He has a pew-pew. So in the midst of everything's happening in a split second. Officers that are not trained properly would react in that situation by doing what they did. Properly trained agents would have communicated, hey, he has a firearm. I took it off of him. He doesn't have anything else on him. That's it. Cuff him. Or whatever. Or whatever the policy is. Because then he'll still be alive. Is it right? No. But he will still be alive. My thing is, in my opinion, Alex coming to the aid of the lady in distress, of the women in distress, Was it the correct thing to do in the eyes of the law? No. Was it the right thing to do? Yes. It was the right thing to do. And there was no reason for him to lose his life for rendering aid, for making sure the ladies were okay. Cuff him. Give him a ticket. Because their narrative was he impeded official government activities. He was brandishing a firearm, which he did not. He did not have it out. I mean, if you have a legal gun, you have a legal permit. I mean, you can walk, you can take a walk outside. You can ride your bike. You can go to the grocery store. I mean, you can't go into the grocery store, but you can go to the grocery store. You can go. The point is, when you have a legal gun, you are following your Second Amendment rights to bear arms. And I kept hearing the White House saying, you don't bring a gun, you should never bring a gun, to a protest. Kristi Noem says that. Well, Kyle Rittenhouse would like to talk to you. You're talking about an underage kid who took an illegal firearm across state lines to a protest, riot. You can call it a riot. I don't care what you call it. And unalived 2 protesters. And he was hailed a national fucking hero. Nobody at that point ever said, I didn't hear not one mention of you shouldn't bring a gun to a protest. I didn't hear not one comment on that. And he literally had it out, brandishing it. Brandished. In the middle of the street with the AR-15. And here, Alex Preddy, who just exercising his right to bear legal firearms, he probably forgot he had it on him. Probably did. And yes, I do my research. I don't know how true this is. Allegedly, this wasn't Alex's first encounter with ICE. I think because they even said it's even been publicized that he was in the ICE's database or whatever. In order to be in anybody's database, whether it's government agency, state police, or whatever, in order to be in their database, you had to have had an encounter with them previously. So allegedly, he was already in the database, which I'm assuming it's because he had a previous altercation or whatever with them. And that's fine. You can go to more than one protest. Ain't no law that says you can only go to one protest. Ain't no law. You can protest peacefully as much as you want to. It's in the law. So, when you look at both sides, and I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to judge the agency. I'm not going to judge Alex Preddy. All I'm going to say is, based on the video, there was no need for him to die at all. At all. I'm not going to say, was it anything other than, I know everybody wants to throw, the murder. I personally don't. Murder is premeditated. Murder is planned out. That, in my opinion, that doesn't fit this case. Was it negligence? Absolutely. Do I believe it was negligence? Yes. Could it have been handled differently? Of course. But at the end of the day, nobody should be losing their life. Renee Good. And I know the Renee Good thing is, yeah, she had a car in the middle of the street. She was impeding, the travel of the officers. You have to be careful out there, people. Protest. It's your given right. Protest on the side of the road. Have your little signs. But when you physically put yourself in the middle of their operations, nothing good is going to come out of it. And I'm saying that as a looking out. Like, trust me, I am not I'm not picking a side. I'm not making judgment. All I'm saying is, if you want to protest, don't physically put yourself in the middle of their operations. Because no matter how much good you think you're doing, or how much good that you actually are doing, it's not going to go the way that you think it's going to go. And don't forget that these officers have immunity, so they're just going to do whatever they want to do. And when it comes to those situations, just have your little sign. Say what you got to say. It's free speech. Free speech. Go ahead and say what get it off your chest, and then go home. And then simply go home. And then going back to Kyle Rittenhouse, it's hilarious that they say, oh, you can't bring a gun to a protest. And then, you have this dude brandishing the AR-15 and, unalive two people. And, he gets, not pardoned, but he wasn't found guilty and this and that. And it's just showing you what they're going to say to protect what they have. They're going to throw you under the bus to protect their agenda. Whatever their agenda is, I don't know. I don't know what their agenda is. I don't know what they're planning. I don't know what they're doing, what this is about. I thought it was about, getting, this is what they said, getting illegal immigrants. Because y'all seem to confuse things. Y'all keep throwing immigrants and illegal immigrants together, and it's not the same thing. Okay, come on. Like, it's crazy to me how people are. Oh yeah, get rid of the immigrants. Get rid of the immigrants. There are legal immigrants here. There are people that come. America is a place for you to come. You're not doing so well in your country. You want better education. You want the American dream. You should be able to come here and apply for citizenship and go through the hoops and whatever you need to do. You should be able to do that once you're in here. I'm not going to really express my opinion on immigration and this and that. But this is what I thought. I thought that when somebody wants to leave their country and come to America, you come in, you apply, you're granted, whether they hold you in a certain area or they give you a temporary visa or whatever. I don't know what it's called, green card, whatever. I don't know the difference. Until your case comes up and you're either approved or denied, right? I think everybody has that right, in my opinion. Everybody has that right to live a better life, to seek better, to do better, to get better. And another thing too, I'm looking online, And I see people talking about, oh, you need to stop comparing this situation. No matter how you feel about it, it is bad. You need to stop, people. Stop comparing this situation to Nazis and Nazi Germany and this and that and comparing it to what's happening past or present in other countries. Because what you're doing is you're letting them off the hook. Because they're not connected to that. They're not connected. You need to call this exactly what it is. Pure old American violence. American violence perpetrated by Americans to Americans. Stop with all this. That has nothing to do with this situation. Stop with all of that. Because they feel no connection to that. That does nothing. Because they're so, I don't know when, what was that, World War II in the 40s or something, the 30s, 40s, 50s? I don't know. It was before my time. This is just American violence. That's all this is. Pure American violence. It has nothing to do with, Africa, Europe, or what happened in, World War I or World War II or any of that nature. As horrific as those events were. Stop doing that. This is just American violence. That's all this is. It has nothing to do with what happened in the past, what happened in the present, in other countries. This is just America. And also what needs to happen, one, and this is to calm everything down. What needs to happen to calm everything down? Because everybody's, all hype. Especially with all the protests in Minnesota. We even had some protests in Cleveland. They need to stop harassing U.S. citizens. Once you establish the U.S. citizens, that's it. Who wants to live in America? Like them old, like those old movies, those old war movies where, the citizens is walking around and then, the occupying officers or, the occupying countries officers, like, show me your papers, show me your papers. That's not America. Show me your papers, show me your papers, show me your papers. That's not America I thought I was living in. I've never experienced that. I hope I don't ever experience that. I mean, because who the fuck carries papers? And what kind of papers are you talking about? You talking about birth certificate and social security card? That's what the fuck you talking? Passport? Okay, that's what you mean? Who the fuck carries that? Nobody carries that shit. And two, you need to establish some kind of universal. I talked about this last week, but you need to establish some kind of universal fucking uniform for these dudes. I mean, they got on a fucking, Abercrombie hoodie that said with ICE letters stapled on it. Do you know how easy it is for like gangs and scammers to pretend like they're them and do some crazy shit, kidnap motherfuckers and shit? That's why a lot of motherfuckers give you a hard time, because they don't know that you actually are who you say you are. They're scared. Maybe if you weren't just jumping out of fucking trucks and shit and surrounding vehicles and yanking niggas out of cars, people would be more compliant. They're not scared of you. So the fear tactic is like, it's unnecessary. I have not seen that one video where, you know, an agent was, hey, how are you today? All right. Hey, you know what? I have reason to believe that you're not a U.S. citizen. Do you have your, you know, birth certificate, your social security card, just to prove, and then you can go on your way. People will be more compliant. People will be more fucking understanding. And I know you're like, well, we can't do our job that way because people blah, 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 blah. Okay, I get it. You know, I'm not a government official. I mean, I don't work for the government. I get it. There are variables that you are trained for that I have not accounted for. Maybe there's certain things in that approach that doesn't work. I get it. But you could make it work. You can figure out an alternative. Because even if they are illegal here illegally, most of them aren't criminals. I know they're criminals because they're here illegally. I get it. Yes, I know this is so fucked up. Yes, they are criminals because they're here illegally. But what I mean by they're not criminal in nature, they're not criminal as far as wanting to do harm to other people. They're just trying to feed their families and have a better life is what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say. But anyway, do you know how easy it is for gang members and scammers to like throw some shit together, pretend like they're the government agency and wreak havoc? I'm sure I don't know. I haven't heard any stories, but I'm sure it could happen or it has happened. And then once they got your ass in the truck and they ain't really the government agency that they said they was, you done. You're cooked. Whoever wanted you dead and went through all that trouble to pretend like they're, you remember the story about the UPS? The dudes that pretend they was UPS and executed the whole family except the little kids. You saw that. I talked about that. If they can fake that, they can definitely fake this. So citizen safety is also a concern when dealing with government agencies. Cleveland Browns have hired a new head coach, Todd Monken. He was the Ravens offensive coordinator. From what I heard, nobody wanted the job. Everybody that they really, truly wanted didn't want the job. They pulled out or, you know, they canceled the interviews. You know, nobody wants to take the Browns job. And I have reasons why. I'm a Browns fan. So, you know, of course, I'm on the Browns side. I'm like, all right, fuck them. You know, I wanted Harbaugh. Couldn't get Harbaugh. I wouldn't mind it Schwartz. I don't know why they didn't pick up Schwartz. I don't know. And from what I heard, I don't know how true it is. It's all on social media. But allegedly, when he found out he was passed on the job, because he interviewed too, you know, they said he was pissed. Said he was pissed. I would be too. Organization I've been working for, and then y'all just like throw me under the bus. Yeah, I'd be too. But anyway, they settled on, I don't want to say settled. I don't really know how I feel about Todd Monken. I really don't know much about him. I just hope that he brings stability to the locker room. I mean, the locker room was pretty stable, but, you know, once Stefanski, you know, left, you know, I think everybody was kind of just like on the same page. I just hope he brings like some stability to the quarterback situation by starting Shedeur and working with Shedeur and making Shedeur the best he can be. I really want to keep Schwartz at defensive coordinator. I think he understands that he is such a value to the defensive coordinator that is probably, as a defensive coordinator, that's probably why they didn't promote him. And righteously so. He had an attitude about it. He was mad about it. But I just hope that Todd Monken, hey, he's 59 years old, 60 years old. I wish they had somebody younger, somebody with a fresh mind, this and that. But I just hope that his plan is to make Shedeur Sanders the best quarterback he can be. And because, Shedeur is the starting quarterback for 26-27. And he did a nice job with Lamar. He did a nice job in Baltimore. I mean, they had winning seasons. I mean, Baltimore is a great organization. I hate them as a rival. But if I'm going to speak objectively, and not subjectively, yeah, they're a great organization. And my Browns, listen, Haslam, you my guy. Jimbo, you my dude, Jimbo. Just get it together, Jimbo. That's all I ask. Get the shit together. Get it together. Get the Browns together, man. You got a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, defensive end, wasting his years in Cleveland. Get that man a ring. Build up Shedeur. He's going to make you more money than you ever dreamed of. And speaking of Shedeur, he made the Pro Bowl. Now, I have a problem with it. I have not him making a Pro Bowl. I'm very excited for him making a Pro Bowl. Shannon Sharp, he's buddies with his dad. Him and Deion are cool. They're real buddy. And he was genuinely happy for Shedeur Sanders making the Pro Bowl. The issue I had was that as I listened to his podcast, he seemed allegedly, I got to say allegedly, to me, in my opinion, it seemed like his conversation about the Pro Bowl was that it was unreliable and a joke because and it has been a joke for the past couple of years. I'm not even gonna lie. People don't want to play this and that. But I've heard other podcasters, other sports analysts saying, oh, well, because Shedeur Sanders got elected to the Pro Bowl, that means the Pro Bowl is really in the toilet. Meaning that they're linking the selection of Shedeur Sanders to the downfall of the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl already sucked. It's not a real game. Nobody wants to get hurt. Nobody wants going to tackle. Nobody's going to play hard. It's just like the All-Star game. Actually, the Pro Bowl is actually more watchable than the All-Star game because the NBA All-Star game, because the NBA All-Star game is nothing but offense, no defense. And actually, the Pro Bowl is actually a joke too, because I think I watched the Pro Bowl like many years ago. I quit watching it. It's no tackling. It's basically, it's basically to see your stars out there. But I just wish that Shedeur Sanders was more celebrated as far as making the Pro Bowl. You're talking about a 5th round pick with odds stacked against him, a coach that didn't like him, no first team reps. He comes in the middle of the season. He goes 3-5. 3-5. No, it's not a winning record, but 3-5. It's not terrible. It's not terrible based on those events that he had to go through. No first team reps. Gets thrown in halfway through the season. The coach didn't like him, allegedly. People talking shit about him online. I'm rooting for the kid. I think the Browns have something special right now going into next year. They got a new head coach, Star Shedeur. You got the defense. Hopefully, Schwartz isn't going anywhere. I don't know what really the story is on him, but we'll see. But I'm very excited. I just didn't like podcasters and sports analysts, using this as the ultimate downfall of the Pro Bowl. Oh, they let Shedeur Sanders in the Pro Bowl. Now we know that the Pro Bowl has gone to shit. Let that man enjoy his Pro Bowl selection. Let that man enjoy his Hawaii vacation. Celebrate that man. 5th round pick. I've never heard of a 5th round pick making it to the Pro Bowl this first year. And yes, I'm sure they asked other people, and other people probably were like, nah, I don't want to go this year. But the fact that they asked him is an attribute to how popular he is. People want to see him play. Shedeur Sanders is the most talked about NFL player this year. Shit. Wait, has there ever been? Probably ever. He's the most talked about 5th round pick ever in the history of NFL. Past the 4th round, they never mention him past the draft day. This dude is now we're talking about on paper, we're talking about in view, we're talking about in popularity, is a bona fide superstar. Popular wise. Can we work on some things as far as QB? Absolutely. Yes. I am a fan, but I also trust my eyes. Can he be the guy? Absolutely. Will he be the guy? Absolutely. So give my man a chance. Congratulations, Shedeur Sanders, making it to the Pro Bowl. Nicki Minaj. So I looked on her social media. She posted a picture of a Trump's gold card, allegedly. And we all know what the Trump's gold card is. It's either citizenship or like the quickest pathway to instant citizenship, right? I don't know if she still has to, go through some processes, but it's moved quicker than somebody else. That gold card is basically you basically about to become a citizen. And so this goes back to reference what I talked about last week. You remember we were talking about how Nicki Minaj was riding, the president's coattails, and how she was alienating her base with her conservative views and this and that, like a month ago. And I'm like, damn, what's up with Anika? What's up? Why, her fan base is not Republican. Her fan base is not. And here she is at state dinners and conferences and shit. And listen, hey, I have nothing. Listen, you vote for, you like whoever you vote for. I am just talking about in comparison to who her fan base is. I have no problem with her getting her citizenship. Matter of fact, she was playing chess, not checkers. So if you're telling me, Nicki, that this was your plan all along, then kudos to you. A real player recognizes a real player. If this was your idea and you put your legacy at risk to achieve this citizenship so that you could stay here in the United States, I applaud you. That's a hustler move. I ain't got nothing bad to say about that. That's a hustler move. You had everybody thinking, oh shit, she done flipped. But you had an alternative plan. You knew what you were doing. There are other ways to go about this, but you decided to play this hand, and I have nothing bad to say about that. I really don't. If this was truly, your intent, and this is alleged, she posted a picture on her Instagram of the gold card, and I'm just, stating my opinion. I don't really know what exactly that means or how she did it. I'm just saying, in my opinion, if, being at all these dinners and being conservative, having these conservative views and posting all this stuff was an alternative plan to get you what you want, which was U.S. citizenship, then hey, real recognize real. I get it. I am definitely a do what you got to do type of person. No matter what nobody thinks, I am definitely that. Pro that. Do whatever you got to do to get what you want within the limits of the law. Allegedly, there's a new Black Panther Party. Now, they can't use the word Black Panther. I think the Black Panther Party said, no, you can't use our name. So I think they're called like the Black Lions or something. And like they're helping out in Minnesota and such and such. And like one of the reasons that the Black Panther Party said, no, you can't use our name, you can't represent us. And like all them niggas is old, I'm sure. I mean, I don't even know if there's original members. Like, don't forget, this shit was before my time. I really don't know shit about the Black Panther Party. You know what I'm saying? I don't trust any parties. I'm sure the shit was necessary in the 50s and shit, whatever, the 60s, whatever the shit was popping. I know nothing too much other than watching movies or hearing my grandmother talk about the Black Panther Party. I'll be honest with you. I have a problem trusting any parties. When I think of like uniting against a cause and doing this and that, I think of everybody as American people, no matter what side you're on. If the majority of Americans are fighting this cause, then most likely the rest of the Americans will help fight that cause. When you're talking about like separate parties specifically, and you're talking about race and this and that, I really don't trust things like that. Because they tend to lump all these groups together, and then you have to determine whether they're trustworthy or not. I mean, you got one side, you got the Proud Boys, and you know what they do, and then you got Antifa, and the Black Lions, and I understand they look like me, and they say, hey, we're for the benefit of people that look like us, the right, making sure that, we retain our rights as a, as a people and this and that. And I be honest with you, I'm just not connected to those types of grassroots movements. I am not necessarily a sidelines kind of guy. I will say I will speak my opinion about stuff I believe in. I will state some things. I will speak my opinion. I will say what's on my mind. But as far as, supporting an organization that I have no idea who they are or what they represent, that's a no for me. I don't care what color you are. I don't care. That's just a no for me. Like I said, the Black Panther Party was way before my time. And if the original Black Party isn't really trusting you with their name, then I mean, like, Black Lions don't hit like the Black Panther. Black Panther is historic. Black Lions, we might not hear about you in 2027 or 2028. Might never hear from you again. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to do in the community. I hear you have a presence in Minnesota. That's that's great. That's wonderful. That's keep doing you. You know what I'm saying? Keep doing you. I just don't see, this is a different time. This is a different era. I just do not see the type of following, the type of support. Because yes, we still deal with bullshit here, right? But it is different. And you could say because of the Black Panther Party is the reason why things are different, as well as with the civil rights movement. You can say that. You definitely can say that. I just think that people's mindset is different. Because we have most of the shit that y'all was fighting for now, we don't really see a need for that type of grassroots movement. It's kind of like, shit, we can do it ourselves. We carry guns too. You know, you're talking about the time in the 60s where, you know, black people weren't allowed to carry guns and this and that in the 50s and all of that. They weren't allowed to drink at fucking water fountains and shit. You know what I'm saying? So there was a lot to fight for. There'll always be shit to fight for, but I think that it has lessened. You know, we'll always fight. We'll always have to fight for being black. That's just the way of America. That's just the way the world is. We're always going to have to fight that. There's always going to be somebody that thinks we don't deserve to have or be where we're at. It's always going to be somebody like that. And that's okay. As long as you don't affect my world with it. I don't care what you believe or what you think. Have your opinions, have your views. Just don't let it affect me over here. And with that, thank you for joining me. Episode 42 of the Really Bro Podcast. Hope you enjoyed this episode. You can catch all of the clips on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And you can catch the full episodes on YouTube and Spotify. All right. Big Ken TV. Just type in the Really Bro Podcast in any of those social medias and I should pop up. All right. Stay safe. God bless.